This week on Melted Reality, we're going to give my favourite airplane model a much deserved upgrade. Let's get going. So in my younger days, my granddad, who we'd call Poppy, used to make us lots of wooden toys. There are lots of trucks and cars, and you can see a bunch of them here now. He'd also donate these toys and taught lots of kids to woodwork. My favourite thing though is this Red Baron triplane. It's one of a few things with Poppy's that I've kept over the years, but this one's always out on display. She's also suffered a little bit of battle damage along the way, so any woodworkers out there, let us know in the comments how I can patch her up. In the meantime though, I'm going to create a flight stand. It has to be simple and not flashy, as I don't want it to distract from the plane itself. I start out in FreeCAD first, creating a cradle for it to sit in. It's going to fit under the fuselage, close to the center of gravity, and the intent is that the plane will balance in there itself and not need any frictional clamping to stay in place. I also angle the bottom so that when it's all attached, it'll have a bit more of a dynamic pose. And these two holes will match up with two posts on the stand to give a bit of extra stability. For the stand itself, I want a bit more freeform. Apart from also minimizing the overall size, these curves, and to me anyway, they're meant to evoke like fluid movement of air while flying, or something like that, and it'll probably make more sense once it's painted though. I also added this extended bit to the bottom, as I originally intended to cut out a section from the base and slot it in that way, but in the end I abandoned that plan and you'll see that later. And here the first test print. The size is right, but I quickly learned that the center of gravity is too far forward, so the plane's unstable. But redesigning the cradle is an easy fix, and all I had to do was take a little bit off these walls. We did see a bit of action though, and the stand took one to the chest. He's a tough little soldier and is going to hold on a bit longer, but then some idiot dropped him and I had to reprint the whole thing. The whole assembly looks awesome though, and I'll glue it all eventually, but here it's holding together all by itself. And I'm using this piece of wood for the base, and we'll move on to that now. Once I'm happy with where the stand's going to sit, I cut it to size and then sand down the rough edges. And then I mark out that position for the painting. And because the plane itself is just a simple shade of red, I'm going to keep the colors for the stand just as simple. The wooden base will be green for the ground, and the stand will be blue for the sky. I choose these craft paints as I think they're a similar palette to the Baron Red. I also don't have a paintbrush large enough to paint over this big of an area, so I decided to try a technique that Dave from Foam Shell Crafting told me about. Basically, you just take a makeup sponge and stipple on small amounts of paint, and eventually you build up just a solid opaque coat. But I absolutely become impatient, and end up just wiping the paint on with the sponge. It does need a second coat, as you can still see all the wood grain beneath, but I actually like this look. It gives the impression of grass below and has that soft blur of movement, so I leave it as is. And at this point though, our brave soldier succumbed to his injuries and needed to be replaced. And that was good news in the end, as I got to remove the unnecessary bit from the bottom of the stand, and added a small amount of slope to the top to help increase the dynamic pose. I also reprinted the cradle, as I originally printed it leading the wrong way. Once that's done though, I actually returned to the stipple painting and have learned a little bit of patience along the way. And who'd have thunk that if you do things the way they're supposed to be done, that you actually get a good result. And the corpse of our fallen comrade also came in handy as a little model holder while painting. Once it's all dry, I cut out and glue in this piece of thin felt. It'll stop the plane from getting scuffed up while in the holder. I cut it a little large at first, and then trim it down to size once its glue is all set. And then the last thing to do is glue the stand to the base, give the proper spin for good luck, and then move to the beauty shots. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I'm pretty sure Poppy would be pleased with it too. It really elevates his model and helps it stand out in a way it deserves. And so thanks for watching to the end. Let me know in the comments if anyone in your family used to make you toys as a kid and what they were, and I'll see you in the next one.